Hello my dear students, welcome to the board. What a joy to see you here. Mr. Mac so excited that you are here to learn, and Mr. Mac is excited also to be here to teach. Alright, so are you ready to learn? Alright, let's do it, okay? In this sub lesson we're going to talk about algebraic terms in two or more unknowns. Now what is algebraic terms? Let's put something up, okay? Let's put the algebraic terms on the board. Let's say Mr. Mac to give you 3xy plus 4. Now this is an example of algebraic expression. Now you got an algebraic term and then you're adding with a 4. Now look at this, 3xy plus 4. So this x and y is unknown, which is also can be called as variables, alright? Something that you don't know, alright? And then you got a constant next to it. In other words, we call this coefficient, and then you're adding it with a constant, alright? So whatever next to a variable or unknown, you call that as a coefficient. Depends. In this case, if I had to ask you what the coefficient for y, and you'll say 3x is the coefficient for y. If I ask you what the coefficient for xy, of course it's 3. If I ask you for a coefficient for x, it's 3y. Okay, we'll talk about more about that. But let's understand what is this unknown. Let's say, for example, you my dear student, you're telling Mr. Mac that your father buys apples every day. But he never told me how many apples he buys. So I put a variable, unknown to it. I said, okay, he's buying number of apples. Okay, I'm listening. Go ahead, tell me. Okay, I put in my mind X number of apples. All right, what is it? What is it? What else more? Well, you say, Mr. Mac, my dad buys so many apples every day, the same amount of apples. But today he tripled it. He bought 3 times what he usually buys. And I was like, oh, okay. So that means what I do? I put 3 times x. 3x. See that? I put a variable to it, because the unknown to it, because I don't know what the number of apples he buys every day. But then he was so expressive. You're expressing it out. You're saying he bought 3 times what he usually buys. That means 3 times what he usually buys. That means I have to give it a variable to it, unknown to it, which is 3x. So if I had to find out how many apples he buys, all I do is what? 3 times the number of the apples that he buys, so it tells me what he bought for today. See that? So you give a variable to it. Okay, so let's understand more about algebraic terms. Okay, now let's say, like, for example, in this case you got 3xy. If Mr. Mac to rewrite this as 3yx, does these two terms make any difference? No, it's just the order is different. Alright, other than that, these two terms are still the same. Now even if I were to put 5yx or 5xy, it's still the same. Alright, why? Doesn't matter with the coefficient, the constant, the number. The biggest thing is the variable. As long the variables are identical, they are same terms. Okay, same terms. So in other words, the biggest thing is the unknown has to be same. Okay, identical, in order to make them to be same term. Now once if I had to put, let's say for example, 3x squared y, that changes the term. They're no longer same term. Alright, or even if I put 3xyz to it, even though this one has xy and this one has xy, doesn't matter, because you put a z to it. That makes this one a different term than that one. Okay, but that doesn't matter about the number. Okay, even if it's a 5 and this one's 3, but as long they have x and y, they are still the same term. Okay, good. So I want you to understand that. Now let's say, for example, if I were to give you 5xy, what this is actually is 5 times x times y. That's what it is. Okay, now if I were to give you 2xy plus y, these are two different terms. They're not identical. Why? Because this one got xy and this one only got y. You cannot combine them. Okay, now if I were to give you 2xy plus 5xy, are these two are same terms? Yes, because why? This one got xy, this one got xy. That means I can combine them. It means like 2 apples plus 5 apples. 2 apples plus 5 apples is 7 apples. So see that? So you must write down 7xy. Very important, okay? Like in this case, you're multiplying. 5 times x is 5x, and then multiplying with y, 5xy. Okay, so let's say if I give you negative 3 times m times n. And how do I express that? I express that as negative 3mn. Now if I to give this way, negative 3m plus n plus 4m. You combine them by their identical terms, the equal terms. m, they're equal terms. I can combine them. So you gather the equal terms together, okay? So let's bring all the m terms together, n terms together. So I got to rewrite this one, negative 3m plus 4m plus n plus n. So I can combine this to n and I combine this to m. So we can combine these two, okay? Now, what is the coefficient in front of n? When I give you a unknown by itself, let's say for example, x or y or m or n, there is a coefficient in front of that unknown. It's 1. You don't show it. You don't show it. Okay? So that means in this case it's a 1 right here, 1 right here. 1n plus 1n. In other words, 1 apple plus 1 apple. It's 2 apples. See that? So that makes it 2 apples. I owe and I have the same terms. I can combine them. I owe 3 and I have 4. Or in other words, 4 minus 3, which is 1 m. But you don't have to put 1. You just put m plus 2n right there. That's your final answer. Alright? You don't have to put the 1. Okay? See that? So it's very important to pay attention. Equal terms you can combine, either add or subtract. But if equal terms or not equal terms, if you multiply, it's a total different story. Let's say for example, Mr. Mac to give you, let's say 3mn times 2xy. Now in this case you're multiplying, okay? 3 times 2 is 6 mn xy. See that? You can put them all together because you're multiplying. The same thing with the division, okay? If I would have 3mn and I'm dividing it with xy. So the division, I can rewrite this as 3mn. Use the right arrow method. What is this division? We can also put what? Over. That's the division line, xy. See that? Or in other words, 3mn over xy. You can write it like that too. The key things you need to know is when you multiply and divide, even though they're not like terms, you can combine them. Alright? So in this case, when I multiply, I combined it. 6mn xy. Alright? The proper way of writing it, you put the coefficient, the number first, and then the unknowns, okay, in order. M, n, because m comes first, and then n, and then x comes first, and then y. See that? In an order form. That's the proper way of writing it, okay? But does that makes it wrong if it's not in an order? It's not, but it's a proper, alright? Just like how you dress. You want to if Mr. Mac to walk around with the shirts inside out, you can see that back tag and everything. You say, Mr. Mac, you didn't put your shirts on properly, alright? But Mr. Mac still had shirts on, but it's just not proper. The same thing with mathematics, okay? If it's right to write this one as, let's say, 6x and then m and then y and then n, it's still the same terms, all right? They both are the same terms, but they're not proper, okay? You just write it this way. Alright? Okay, so keep in mind. Now with the addition and subtraction. Alright, we talked about the addition part. How about subtraction? Let's say Mr. Mac to give you 5y minus 2y. Are these like terms? Yes, they're like terms, alright? That means I can subtract. It's pretty much like 5 apples minus 2 apples. So that gives me 3 apples. See that? Now what happened if I give you 5xy minus 2y? Now it's no longer apple and apple, it's orange and apple. Can I take 5 oranges minus with 2 apples? No, because they have to be apple and apple in order for me to subtract. What happened if I said 5 oranges minus 2 apples? You just repeat it. 5 oranges minus 2 apples. Okay, so make sure you don't leave it blank, because that means you don't know. They will think you don't know, you lose mark. You got to rewrite it, just like this one, 2x plus y. You don't leave empty, you rewrite it. So 2xy plus y, because they are not like terms, they are unlike terms, because this is 2xy, it's xy, and this is y. Alright, keep in mind the number coefficient doesn't make influence, okay, whether they're like terms or unlike terms. It's the unknown, okay, it's the one that makes the decision. Okay, let's say for example, if I were to give you 2x plus 3x squared, are they like terms? They're not. Why? It's not because the 2 and 3, it's because the x and the x squared. That makes a big difference there. Even though they have that x and x, but still they're not like terms, they're unlike terms. You cannot combine them. You have to rewrite it, 2x plus 3x squared. Alright? Same thing with the subtraction. If I give you 5y minus 2y squared, are these like? Or even if I put a 5, they're not like terms. Why? Because this unknown is y and this unknown is y squared, and that makes it these two terms not identical, not like. Okay, they're unlike. So that means I cannot subtract them, I cannot do anything. I just have to rewrite 5y minus 5y squared. It's pretty much apple and orange. Okay, you cannot subtract apple and orange. Alright, keep in mind, whenever you look at the terms, there's just a slight changes on the variable, the unknowns, that immediately tells you it's an unlike terms. Alright, doesn't matter about the number, okay, the number, the coefficient number. Okay, don't let that. Let's say for example, if I have a 6x plus 7x, it's 6 apples plus 7 apples. See, the 6 and 7 doesn't influence. You can combine them. That makes it 13 apples. See that? Very important. Alright, good. Let Mr. Mac erase the board and let's talk more about the terms and algebraic expression. And I'll be back with you in a few seconds. Alright, my dear students, the key thing that I want you to understand in this sub-lesson is what is algebraic terms would be, and like algebraic terms and unlike algebraic terms, the coefficients, and also I want you to understand how to express an algebraic terms. What do I mean by that? Let's say for example, Mr. Mac to give you 3 times m times n times n, and I want to express that in the form of algebraic terms. Alright, in this case kind of spread out, expanded. So you know that 3 times m times n times n can be expressed in the simplest form. Alright, so you can take the multiplication of 3m. How many m's are there? 1, 2. That means squared. M times m is m squared. See that? And then n. How many n's are there? 2 n's right there. Alright, let's say for example, if I have 5 times m times m times m times m, so how many m's are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can rewrite this as a 5m to the 4. See that? That's the power. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I put m to the 4, and that's the proper way. Okay, now keep in mind, okay, if there's a, let's say more n, let's say n there, how many n's are there? 2 n's. So I put n to the second power. Alright, so I can put more. Alright, just to give you an example how to express the expanded in the form of simplest terms. Alright, so very important to understand that. Okay, keep in mind. Alright, good. Now let's review. We talked about, let's say if I got negative 5mn and then I give you 7mn squared. Are these like terms? They're not. Why? Because this is mn and this is mn squared. See that? Doesn't matter, even though this one is mn and this one also has mn, but there's a squared to it. So that makes these two are not like terms. Okay, they're unlike terms. All right, very important. Okay, all right, let's say for example Mr. Mac to give you 7yx, and then I say this one is negative 20xy. Are these like terms or unlike terms? They are like terms. Huh? Mr. Mac, how is that? This is yx and this is xy. Doesn't matter. The order doesn't matter. As long as you have y and y, you got x and x. And that makes it like terms. Okay? And this is unlike terms. Unlike terms. These are like terms. Again, y. This one has x and y. This one also has x and y. Okay? xy and xy. This one you got mn, but this one got mn squared. That makes it unlike terms. Alright? Okay, good. Alright, my dear students, let's do this. Let's have a hands-on practice on this, okay? So it's going to be an easy, simple one. So we're going to give Pablo a break, and Mr. Mac just going to list it out. Few questions on the board, and then we'll do some hands-on practice. Is that fine? Okay, let's give Pablo a break, okay? Actually, he's taking a vacation. No, I'm just kidding. Let's give him a break. I'll be back in a few seconds. Alright, my dear students, let's give Pablo a break, okay? So Mr. Mac going to step out, go ahead, pause the video. Once you're done, invite Mr. Mac in, alright? And here it is, have fun with it. How was it? Pretty easy, isn't it? Alright, let's do it together, okay? The first question, it says true or false, alright? Now, negative 4rs and negative 4r squared s are like terms. Are they like terms? No. Why is that? Because even though this one got negative 4 and then you got r and r, but this one is in the form of what? R squared. That makes them unlike terms. That means this statement is false. Okay, so this is false. Alright, this is false. Okay, now let's go to the next one. 16mn and 47nm are like terms. Are they like terms? This one's mn, this one's nm. Are they like terms? Yes, they are. Doesn't matter which order they are, but they still has m and m and n and n. There's nothing more than that. Doesn't matter about the number, the coefficient number. Okay, so even the 1647, that doesn't determine whether they are like terms or not like terms. Okay, it's the unknown is the one that determines. Okay, so that means this is like terms. Yes, it is true. Okay, they are like terms. Now what about this one? Negative 34 uv and 4 times v times u are unlike terms. They are like terms. Why is that? Because Mr. Mac just expanded. We have to, if we did times it out, actually 4vu, which is same as 4uv. Flip it over. Alright? So you can rearrange it, the order. When you multiply, you can rearrange the order. Alright? So 4vu is also equal to 4uv, which is negative 34 uv. So they say unlike terms. It's false. Should be like terms. Okay, that one is a false. All right, given negative 7st and the coefficient of s is negative 7. Is it negative 7? Yes. Okay, because we have to rewrite it, negative 7t, and this is s, and this is the coefficient. See that? And looking for the coefficient for s, what's next to it? All right, now be careful, the coefficient is, it's multiplying to it. Okay, if I had to give you, let's say for example, so in other words, this is what? It's true. Okay, so this is true. Now let's say for example, Mr. Mac to give you negative 4 st plus 7, and I'm asking the coefficient for t. What is the coefficient for t? Right there, this one right there. This is the coefficient. Nothing to do with the t. I'm referring to this term right here. Okay, this whole thing is called algebraic expression. This is the term. Alright, so this is negative 4s is the coefficient for t. Don't forget the negative. Alright, negative 4s is the coefficient for t, if I'd ask you that. Alright, so in this case, the coefficient of S is negative 7s. If I were to give positive 7, it's false, okay? It has to be negative 7, alright? Negative 7t. So in this case for S, it's negative 7t. It cannot be positive. Alright, good. Let's look at this one. 4 times A times B times B times A equals to 4A squared B squared. Is it true or false? Well, 4, it's 4 there. How many A's are there? 1, 2, A squared. How many B's are there? 1, 2, B squared. It is true, okay? Yeah, very good. Good job. It is true. Alright? Perfect. Alright, my dear students. That shows you should be ready for your quiz, alright? Well, yes, Pablo, I know. I'm sure he's not happy that I didn't put him to work today to get hands-on practice. But he said, Mr. Mac, at least I'm going to come out and tell my dear students, time for quiz. Alright, thank you. He just challenged us too. Alright, my dear student, I'll see you in the next sub lesson. Take care.